maalmahan booqasho gaaban waxaa ku jooga magaalada Minneapolis ee gobolka Minnesota Ambassador Maxamed Saalix Nadiif waxa uu la kulmayaa qurbo joogta Soomaaliyeed ee ku sugan magaalada Minneapolis iyo qaar kale oo badan oo ka timid wadanka Canada. Qurbo joogta waxa uu eegayaa waxyaalaha ay ka qabaan AMISOM iyo waxa uu soo bandhigayaa AMISOM dadaalka ay ku muujinayaan inay Soomaaliya ka dhaliyaan nabad iyo heshiis sidoo kalena waxa uu doonayaa in uu ogaado Soomaalidu waxa ay ka aaminsan yihiin AMISOM waa Soomaalida qurbo joogta
in Somalia. This is just to highlight the fact that AMISOM is composed of Africans. It's an African mission to help Somalia. I'm pretty sure all of you are aware of the context in which AMISOM intervened in Somalia. I will not get into all the details. Let me just quickly inform you that AMISOM is made of three components. There is, first of all, the military component, which is represented here by the Deputy Force Commander. There is also the police component, which is here represented by the Police Chief of Staff, who just introduced himself. All the others are from the civilian component of AMISOM, except the Colonel, who is the head of the Sierra Leonean contingent. And we also have three brothers who came from the African Union Commission from Addis Ababa. So I was saying that AMISOM intervened in Somalia. We can summarize AMISOM's mandate in just 4 points. First of all, the first point is to help the Somali authorities and the Somali National Army to liberate the territory, facilitate reconciliation between the Somali brothers, help to build up a Somali National Army and a Somali police force, and also help to rebuild the country. And fourth, help the humanitarian workers who are going into Somalia to help the population. Well, today we can say that AMISOM and the Somali National Army did a lot to weaken Al-Shabaab, militarily speaking. The three other points of the mandate are now being implemented. As you all know, Al-Shabaab resorted to a new type of tactics. For example, targeted assassinations to scare people, planting improvised explosive devices and other types of explosives to scare the people and to terrorize the people, but also indoctrinate the youth so that they go and blow themselves up, as it is happening in. It is in that context that we came here in Minneapolis to meet with you. You are a very extremely important community. You have your say in what happens in your country. You are watching the news. You are aware of all that happens in Somalia. You should be part of the solution in solving the situation in Somalia. So we are here to listen to you, try to understand your vision of the solution to the problems of Somalia, and address all the issues, the questions, the concerns that you might have on what AMISOM has been doing in Somalia. Our only goal is to put an end to the war in Somalia. This war has been there for quite a bit of time, and it caused a lot of loss. It is tarnishing the image of Africa. It is tarnishing the image of Somalia and the Somalis. We cannot withstand this war anymore. As you know, in the contingents that are in Somalia, there are Burundians who are also part of the mission. There are Ugandans. There are Sierra Leoneans and many others. All of these countries experienced war in their history. But there was a time in history where these countries realized that they should put an end to the war. At the moment, we have 54 countries in Africa. There is only Somalia among all of these countries that is still experiencing war. We should put an end to the war. Africans are your brothers. They died for the cause of Somalia in Somalia. Many Somalis also died in finding solutions for Somalia. We are willing and ready again to sacrifice our lives for the benefit of Somalia. But everything has an end. There is a saying that no matter what the time you spend standing, you should sit and then discuss. So now is the time to sit and then solve Somalia's problems. Your brothers and sisters from African countries who introduce themselves here are there to listen to you, because your inputs will help us deal with the challenges that we're facing. First of all, you should sensitize all Somalis that Al-Shabaab is indoctrinating the youth to blow themselves up. I listened carefully to what the Imam had to say about the fatwa that they issued. So now is the time to go in that direction. Now is the time to tell the youth that on the contrary of what Al-Shabaab is telling them, by blowing themselves up, they are going most likely into the hellfire instead of going to heaven. Today, with the new developments, the internet, the different technologies of communication, everything can be shared. The only message that I would like you to send to the Somalis is that they should put an end to the war and encourage the political leaders to reconcile. You should do all what you can, because you are aware of what is happening in Somalia. And we as AMISOM are there to listen to you. We're all ears. I wish that in the next 1-2 years, or by 2016, I wish that you go back to Somalia and vote in your country, in a Somalia that is free, where there is life. You all know Somalia is a beautiful country and it deserves peace, not war. I thank you.
Sadiq Warfa kusoo dhawow Somali channel waxaan rabay inaan dhowr su'aalood ku weydiiyo waxa joogo ambassador Maxamed Nadiif wuxuuna la kulmayaa qurbo joogta Soomaaliyeed maxay tahay muhiimadda imaanshihiisa iyo seminaaradan uu qabanayo Soomaalida qurbo joogta ee Minneapolis degan
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim Assalamu alaykum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh Ambassador Maxamed Saalax Nadiif iyo AMISOM heerkeeda iyo African Union Commission-ka oo u qaabilsan qayb Soomaaliya oo maanta nala joogo Minneapolis kulankan waa conference laba maalin soconaya ujeedada lagu talagalay waxay tahay in AMISOM ay qurbo joogta Soomaaliyeed kala hadasho mandate-keeda iyo waxyaabaha ay Soomaaliya ka hayso iyo diasporada aragtida ku aadan marka sidaas ayay u imaadeen marka waa engagement ay la yeelanayaan qurbo joogta North America
bulshada ay la kulmayaan ee North America ku nool waa qaybahee dadka ay la kulmayaan mesela oo ay rabaan inay u sameeyaan kulankan iyo workshop-yada ay qabanayaanba
wallahi kulamadan ambassadorka saaka culimada ayuu la kulmay wuxuu la kulmay business-ka wuxuu la kulmay dhalinyarada wuxuu la kulmay haweenka qaybo kala duwan oo bulshada waxayna u cabireen u sheegeen waxa waaye fikirkooda ku aadan sida loogu baahan yahay in ciidamada Soomaaliyeed la diyaariyo si ay ula wareegaan hawsha wadanka in Soomaaliya ay Soomaali leedahay AMISOM u mahadnaqnay intii mataqaana ay wax qabteen 7 sano ay joogeen laakiin loo baahan yahay in la diyaariyo exit strategy si ay ku bixi lahaayeen loona dhisi lahaa loona soo celin lahaa qaran Soomaaliyeed oo ciidamo ah oo mataqaan waddanka u adeega marka qurba joogtu way noo imaadeen way nala tashteen beritoole waxaan leenahay work session oo 3 qaybood aan ka hadli doono taas oo ah mid oo reconciliation oo ah dib u heshiisiin iyo qayb aan ka hadli doono institution capacity building in kartida dawladda iyo hay'adaheeda kor loo soo qaado iyo mid ku saabsan youth/women development sida workforce amal sida arrimahaas marka arrimahaas ayay u imaadeen oo annagana laakiin fikrad baan leenahay annagu Soomaali hadaan nahay waddanka annaga ayaa iska leh tala ayaan ku leenahay marka halkan waxay u imaadeen waxay dareemeen awoodda qurba joogta Soomaaliyeed annaga oo la xisaabtami karna oo na doonayna mataqaanaa sidii lagu dhalin lahaa askar Soomaaliyeed oo la wareegta xilka waddanka
sida aad u soo dhaweysay oo nimankan aad ula shaqeynayso waa si aad u habsan marka maxaa kugu qanciyay inaad saa ugu soo dhaweyso oo uu uga duwan yahay kuwii ka horeeyay ee noociisa ahaa taasoo aad meel walba la marayso si fiican u soo dhaweysay muxuu uga duwan yahay kuwii noociisa ahaa ee ka horeeyay AMISOM iyo ciidamadii kale ee waddanka Soomaaliya joogi jiray
horta Maxamed Saalax Natiif ambassador kortoonin muslina maanta masaajidka weyn Abubakar Sadiiq buu salaad duhur ku soo tukaday casarka la tukaday muslina marka hor diin baa naga dhaxayso wax walba ogow qof anaga hadaan islaanahay diinta ayaa ka weyn second horta runtii AMISOM in ummadda Soomaaliyeed inay fahantaan loo baahan yahay AMISOM Soomaaliya waa Afrikaanka ayaa u soo noo soo baxay in waddankeena dib ay noo caawiyaan Arab nooma imaan Arab League baan ka mid nahay oo rabadana islaam ayaan ka mid nahay dadka kaliya oo January 2007 inta istaagay yiri African problem African solution waxaan African Union oo marka dibna componentigaas AMISOM sameeyay marka waxaan dhihi karaa waxa weeye anaga haddana ummadda Soomaaliyeed waxaan leenahay waa inaan wada shaqeynaa oo martaqaanaa waddanka waa leenahay dhibaatana kala gaartay laakiin waxaan u soo dhaweeyay oo aan shirarka u qabanayna waxa weeye in la gaari xilligii aan la xisaabtami lahayn oo aan sameyn lahayn accountable transparency way oo labada dhinac annagana aan hiidka ku hayno si ay u dhisaan oo ay dawladda Soomaaliyeed u fududeeyaan sidii loo heli lahaa ciidamo qaran oo waddanka la wareega
aad iyo aad ayaa mahadsan tahay Saadiq Warfaa waa howlwadeenka khaaska ah ee la shaqeynayo wafdigan balaaran ee AMISOM ka socda joogana magaalada Minneapolis iyo ambassador Maxamed Saalix Nadiif waa mahadsan tahay Saadiq
هذا ما سنتي بقى Somali channel
vehicle to the airport and when he comes back the same thing when the AMISOM arrived Al-Shabaab was few meters from the presidency and almost every night they were pumping or throwing mortars in the presidency. Arriving in that situation, the AMISOM troops started, first of all, to secure the lives of the officials of the transitional government, and then they got a mandate that they can extend their mission to a combat. Starting that combat ended that they liberated, first of all, the 16 or 17, I believe now it's 17 districts of Mogadishu, and then extended their operations and movements to the neighboring regions, especially the lower Shabelle and the upper Shabelle. Now, they are almost around 300 kilometers, 200 to the north and 250 to the south. Kismayo also was liberated. Somalia is a member in many organizations, including Arab League, Islamic League, many. But the only organization that have stand and sent troops to Somalia is the African Union. Today, myself and you also should be proud that we are Africans. Somalia is committed to build a strong Somali National Army, professional army that can fight beside the AMISOM to fulfill their duties. Somali government is trying its best with the help of the AMISOM to rebuild Somali army. And we are in the path. I have participated recently in Kampala, a workshop for the Somali National Army organized by AMISOM. The topic was to awareness, or it was actually awareness on how the Somali National Army should conduct with their. There are a lot of propaganda usually against the AMISOM troops, contra-propaganda from Al-Shabaab, and people who actually don't want that the AMISOM troops succeed in their mission. We are aware of that, and we hope also you should understand that AMISOM troops, in fact, we don't say that they are all angels. Maybe mistakes sometimes happens, but the AMISOM regulation stricts that their army harass or abuse the Somali people. Their duty is only to fight the enemy and help the Somali government to stand in its feet.
Abraham Ugas, you mentioned earlier that you guys will be discussing tomorrow about institution building. Coming here tonight, I was under the impression that we would be discussing about the peacekeeping mission that the AMISOM have in Somalia, which we greatly appreciate. But which I don't understand is, if AMISOM is involved in institution building, what is the Somali government to do? Okay, that's my question, number one. Number two, if someone is going to help us in capacity building and institution building in Somalia, it ought to be the developed countries that are already helping us, such as Turkey and the European Union. I don't see how the African Union or the African countries, especially the front countries, the neighbors, Kenya and Ethiopia, can help us in any way in institution building in Somalia, or even training our army, because we know the long history between Somalia and Ethiopia, and now what's happening in Kenya. We don't see how these countries can help us in the long run. So I think throughout the night, people have been mentioning that we need to be liberated from AMISOM at one point. Okay? We will never be liberated if you're talking about institution building at this point. So I think the job that you guys have been doing is great, helping us eliminate Shabab from the capital and some of the other areas. But Somalia needs to be on its own, and we need to get help from developed countries that can help us build our institutions.
We are dealing with these issues on a daily basis.
Moi, je crois qu'il ne faut pas se contenter de constater des problèmes seulement.
I believe we should not just focus on looking at the problems.
Nous essayons de les gérer.
We are trying to manage the problems.
C'est pour cela que quand j'ai posé la question, je me suis dit tout à l'heure, tous les problèmes viennent du fait que la Somalie est en état de guerre.
Actually, all the problems are there because Somalia is at war.
Faisons tout pour mettre fin à la guerre.
So what we should do is do all our best to put an end to the war.
Que ce soit l'Éthiopie, que ce soit le Kenya,
Ethiopia or Kenya,
sont des voisins de la Somalie.
these countries are neighboring countries of Somalia,
On ne choisit pas ses voisins.
and you don't choose your neighbors.
Il peut avoir des problèmes.
So it's possible that you face some challenges.
C'est le rôle des diplomaties de régler ce genre de problèmes.
It is the job of diplomats to deal with these issues.
Moi, je viens du Tchad.
Well, I'm from Chad.
J'étais ministre dans mon pays.
I was minister in my country.
J'avais 3 pays qui étaient voisins de mon pays.
I have 3 neighboring countries of Chad.
J'avais le Nigeria qui était mon voisin.
Nigeria was one of those neighboring countries.
J'avais la Libye qui était le voisin.
I believe that the second one,
J'avais le Soudan.
and Sudan the third.
Le Nigeria avait occupé une partie du Tchad pendant 1 an.
Nigeria occupied some part of my country for 1 year.
J'étais ministre des Affaires étrangères.
I was minister of foreign affairs.
Je n'ai même pas fait une déclaration.
I did not do even one statement.
Mais j'ai fait plus de 10 fois le Nigeria.
But I went more than 10 times to Nigeria.
Et les troupes nigériennes sont sorties sans qu'on ait demandé une seule balle.
And then the Nigerian troops withdrew without even firing one bullet.
La Libye avait occupé une grande partie du Tchad.
Libya occupied a huge part of Chad,
Elle est partie.
and then Libya withdrew from Chad.
Je ne parle pas du Soudan.
Let me not mention Sudan.
Quand un pays est en guerre,
When a country is at war,
beaucoup de problèmes peuvent se poser.
many problems can be faced.
Il faut savoir tout simplement les résoudre.
So what you should do is know how to deal with these problems and solve them.
La Somalie ne va pas se déplacer pour partir laisser le Kenya et l'Éthiopie.
Somalia will not move from its current position and leave Ethiopia and Kenya there.
Il y a des problèmes.
There are problems.
Nous aidons le gouvernement.
We are helping the government.
L'Union africaine aide également le gouvernement.
The African Union is also helping the government.
Et je suis sûr qu'une solution sera trouvée.
I'm pretty sure that a solution will be found.
Mais le problème existe.
But of course, I admit there are problems.
Il y a une crise de confiance entre les 2 pays.
New questions. So we can allow them to respond.
All right, so mine is actually directed to Mr. Ali Amir, right? The Somali. So I know that you actually kind of came back to us and tell us, don't say this, don't say that. You actually talking to the best of the Somalis. We are all educated and we learn how to enjoy the basic human rights. Okay? And we're not going back, we're going forward. So my question is, when I apply a job and my name shows up Haji Salat, I get discriminated. How could you not know if Jama Hersi applies a job, he is not Somali? How would you not know that? That's one question. Second question, I know Al-Shabaab is actually indoctrinated, right? So is there any strategy that you guys have? This is for you, Ambassador. And my question is, have you found a strategy to actually win the heart of the youth, to actually indoctrinate them, to come towards you and to become the military members? These are the things that you can do to fix. What are the strategies that you're going to, do you even have a plan for that? Those are my questions.
أنا waxaan ka jawaabayaa su'aashii uu walaalkay yiri dual nationality. It's very simple. Labaad haysataa, you choose the Somali. Waa intaas weey. Labadaba waad leedahay. Ta kale iska dhig ta Soomaaliga soo saaro xataa Soomaali baan. You are entitled. Waa intaas weey. Joobkaasina waa furan yihiin. waa idinku dhiirigelinaynaa inaad maarata ka qayb gashaan had iyo goor maarata muxuu ahay eega website-ka maarata African Union gabadhii walaashay aan adeerka u ahay halkan ka hadlaysay.
I also want to thank you, Mr. Ambassador, once more for a very productive discussion we had this morning, along with other imams and faith leaders from the community. It was a very important opportunity for us to listen to you and to hear from you the mandate of AMISOM and the work that you're doing in Somalia. I would like to start with the Al-Shabaab issue and the Al-Shabaab culture of killing and destruction. It's neither Somali nor Islamic in any form. It's an international phenomena that needs to be dealt as such. So we really want to reiterate and emphasize the point that we made this morning, that this is an international phenomenon and it has nothing to do with the Somali culture. It has also made more harm to the Somali people than anyone else, and the Somali religious leaders in the Twin Cities have, in a loud voice, rejected this ideology and have condemned both the strategies and actions of Al-Shabaab. The Imams have made a commitment to engage the young members from our community to clarify about the dangers of this ideology and will continue to do so. The Somali people are resilient, will bounce back from this difficult period that we're in. We have the ingredients to build a peaceful and prosperous Somalia. We just need to get the right formula. As Ali Mazrui, one of the greatest African minds, once said, we just need to get the right formula for Somalia to get back on its feet again. And I'm very confident that that's coming. The Somali problem is a Somali issue and the solutions must come from us. The Somali problem is a Somali issue and the solutions must come from us. Solutions manufactured outside with often different and competing interests have not worked in the past, isn't working, is not going to work now, and will not work in the future. So the solution must come from within the Somali people. We have enough elders, scholars, and intellectuals to bring the Somali people together again once and for all with the right environment. We welcome AMISOM's involvement in Somalia and the significant success that has been achieved so far on the ground. The Somali people are grateful for the sacrifices made by AMISOM, and that must be shared with you. With the young men and women sacrificing in the ground in Somalia. Our people are once more seeing more semblance of peace and stability. We have internationally recognized government that have clear vision of where they want to go take the country, but really facing big challenges. And we need to support our government to do the right thing. I ask the Somali people, wherever they are, to come together, compromise with each other, and support the government. And wax kasta oo aan sheegno, aan saxiixino, aan qaylino, dad kale aan ku qaylino, waxa weeyaan inta inagu aynaan isu imaanin oo aynaan heshiinin Soomaaliya isma imaanayso. Marka waa inaan inagu heshiinaa marka hore. We need to put our acts together before we talk to someone else. That's very important. We understand that the mandate of AMISOM is to support the federal Somali government and help build its institutions, including military, police, and other vital institutions for effective government. It is not to replace the Somali government, and that must be very, very clear. It is not to replace the Somali federal government. It's paramount to ensure that's what's happening on the ground. We would like to see that's what's happening on the ground, that the Somali government is indeed calling the shots in Somalia. And that's the biggest concern that has been shown tonight. The biggest challenge that the federal government has today is not the military one, it is a political one. So we call on the government, with the representative that's with us, to start a strong, strategic, and plan to bring the Somali people together in a peace-building process that will bring the Somali people together. The Somali federal government must take its responsibility and put forward a comprehensive plan for sincere peace-building and reconciliation process. The government must reach out to all Somali people from all regions within the framework of the federal constitution that's spelled out in the federal system that's already in place. I would like to close with this well-known saying of Somalia, Somalia, Somali Bale. Thank you. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Wa salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ururka Midowga Afrika mishakiisa Soomaaliya kulan ay leeyasheen jaaliyadda dibadda jaaliyadda Soomaalida waqooyiga Amerika shirkaasi oo dhacay bisha October 5 ilaa iyo 6 laguna qabtay magaalada Minneapolis ee gobolka Minnesota ee cariga Mareykanka. October 5 2005 ilaa iyo 6 2003 shir wada tashi ah ayaa lagu qabtay gobolka Minnesota oo ay ka soo qayb galeen wakiilo oo ka socda jaaliyadaha Soomaalida oo ku nool waqooyiga Mareykanka iyo Canada iyo African ururka Midowga Afrika missionkiisa Soomaaliya. shirkaasi waxaa lagu qabtay magaalada Minneapolis ee gobolka Minnesota ee cariga Mareykanka. waxaa shirkaasi ka soo qaybgalay ama ka soo qaybgalayaasha waxay isugu jireen odayaal indheergarad culimaaudiin haween dhalinyaro iyo khubaro kala gedisan oo ku jirta khibrado kala gedisan oo AMISOM sidoo kale waxaa shirka ka soo qaybgalay maxamed cumar caamir oo ka socda wasaaradda arrimaha dibadda iyo xiriirka caalamiga ee dowladda federaalka Soomaaliya ka soo qaybgalayaasha shirku waxay diiradda saareen inay ka doodaan talana ay ka soo jeediyaan saddex waxyaabood oo kala gedisan oo isugu jiray haweenka iyo shaqo la'aanta haysata dhalinta yar dib u heshiisiinta qaranka ama dib u heshiisiin qaran iyo in dib loo dhiso hay'adihii iyo haykalkii dowladda ee Soomaaliya ka soo qaybgalayaashu waxay soo jeediyeen dowladda federaalka Soomaaliya iyo sidoo kale bulshada caalamka ah ee ku lug leh ama ka qayb qaata arrimaha Soomaaliya.
Mr. Ali Amir of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation represented the Somali federal government. Coming at a time when Somalis in the diaspora are returning to Somalia in record numbers due to the improved security in much of the country, the aim of the conference was to serve a forum for idea generating and to promote a participation of Somali diaspora in their country's peace and reconstruction process. The conference provided a unique opportunity for Somalis in the diaspora to receive a first-hand account of the African Union's intervention in Somalia, including the mandate and the activities of the civilian, police, and military components of AMISOM since its deployment in 2007. Following focused group discussions on how Somali diaspora can contribute to women and youth unemployment, the national reconciliation, and institutional building in Somalia, the participants adopted recommendations for the consideration by Federal Government of Somalia, AMISOM, as well as all relevant actors and partners in Somalia. On women and youth unemployment, the participants recommended that, number one, the Federal Government of Somalia should put in place a national women and youth employment strategy that is inclusive to all regions and women in internal displaced camps. Two, the federal government of Somalia and relevant partners, as well as the local actors and the Somali diaspora, should undertake appropriate vocational training for Somali women and youth in order to create blue-collar jobs. Three, the federal government of Somalia and relevant partners, as well as the local actors and the Somali diaspora, should provide targeted macro financing to facilitate the creation of small-scale businesses by the women and youths. Number four, the federal government of Somalia, with the support of AMISOM and in consultation with the Somali diaspora, should convene a stakeholders roundtable to support the implementation of anticipated government national strategy on women and youth employment. Number five, the federal government of Somalia should encourage and facilitate the recruitment in an inclusive manner of more eligible women and youths in Somali national security forces. Six, the federal government of Somalia and AMISOM, in partnership with the Somali diaspora, should redirect and rehabilitate youths' disengagement from Al-Shabaab through appropriate employment and education opportunities. On the national reconciliation, the participants recommended that, number one, that the national reconciliation effort should be refocused on Somali justice and reconciliation morals. Two, in order to enhance trust and promote national reconciliation, the federal government of Somalia should deal the impunity through an appropriate justice and reconciliation process. Three, the diaspora should promote the use of existing Somali media, such as radio, television, and internet, as well as the Somali oral tradition to promote reconciliation. Four, the Somali should support ongoing peace and reconciliation efforts by the federal government of Somalia, AMISOM, and United Nations and other stakeholders. Five, The diaspora should convene an annual day of atonement to reconciliation, as well as promoting Islam for peace, including support for invoking the fatwas by religious clerics, scholars, and naming and shaming of anti-peace elements. 6, AMISOM should expand its deployment as a means to facilitating and creating a necessary environment for local and national reconciliation activities, efforts to be undertaken by the federal government of Somalia across the country. 7, the federal government of Somalia should establish a property restitution commission to return properties to its original owners. 8, the federal government of Somalia should guarantee the freedom to leave and to move back to their places of origin for internally displaced women and children. On the institutional capacity building, the participants recommend that, number 1, the federal government of Somalia need to deploy a human resources capability that is built on transparent, fair, and merit-based recruitment process. 2, the federal government of Somalia should establish an independent public service institution with defined tenure of service that transcends the lifespan of any given institution, any given administration. Number 4, the federal government of Somalia should strengthen the public revenue and the accountability institutions and processes, including through transparent budgeting and establishment of an independent anti-corruption body. 4, the federal government of Somalia, with support of AMISOM and other partners, should enhance the capacity of Somali National Army, the Somali National Police Force, in participating in preparation for exit of AMISOM. 5, the Somali diaspora, in committing to institutional development in Somalia, should engage educational institutions, government entities, and other international focused organizations to contribute the capacity building efforts in Somalia. Finally, in order to ensure the effective implementation of the recommendations of the conference, the participants constituted a follow-up committee to liaise with AMISOM in this regard, as well as to facilitate and convening an annual Somali Diaspora Conference, which should be held on a rotational basis in places with a large number of Somali communities across the globe. The conference participants thanked the African Union for its critical and vital contribution to the peace and security of Somalia, especially through AMISOM. The participants also expressed their appreciation to the local organizing committee, led by Mr. Warfa, for facilitating the convening of this consultation forum, and the Minnesota Somali community for their hospitalities. Thank you.